The 2024 NFL season officially kicks off on Thursday night, and it's a rematch of the AFC Championship game that was just played 7 months ago between the Chiefs and Ravens. Baltimore closed as home favorites of 4.5 points in that game with a total of 44 or 44.5, depending on what book you're looking at. Now, of course, we know the Chiefs won outright on their way to win another Super Bowl. Now, with this game on Thursday night in Arrowhead Stadium, KC is favored by 3 points, and the total is up to 46.5, which is an increase of 2.5 points, which the total being adjusted up makes perfect sense. Weather is perfect in this game, and totals in the playoff games are just always lower, so I have no problem with the over-under. But the point spread flipping 7.5 points at first glance seems like a pretty big adjustment. Ravens going from favorites of 4.5 to now +3. Home field advantage in the regular season games is worth 2 points at the most. I personally give most teams 1.5 points for home field advantage. In the playoffs, maybe 3 points it's worth. So where's the rest of the points coming from? Because 7 months ago till now, adjusting for the flipping home field advantage, the line should be only Baltimore -1-ish. Or 1.5-ish. What else are the odds makers pricing into this meeting, or is there just a ton of line value on Baltimore? Let's think about what's changed since last meeting. For KC, not much has changed. It's tough to say a Super Bowl winning team had any weakness, but their wide receivers, I guess, were probably the area they needed help with, and it appears they addressed that between the draft and free agency. Rookie Xavier Worthy will fill a void left by Marquez Valdez-Scantling. They grabbed Hollywood Brown, still have Rashee Rice in the slot. It's safe to say KC is probably improved at worst, they're just as good as the team they put on the field 7 months ago in the AFC Championship game. So it has to be a change with the Ravens to warrant this 7.5 point adjustment. If you haven't watched any of my team betting previews, check them out. They're on my page now. Both the Chiefs and Ravens team previews are up. On the Ravens team preview, I talked about how the Ravens defense last year was historically good. Some even say the 2023 Ravens defense deserves to be in the top 5 all-time conversation. Now, I don't know about that, but it was the first defense ever to lead the league in sacks, points allowed, and takeaways in the same season. I bring this up because this is definitely something that's changed since the last meeting 7 months ago versus KC. When you have a defense that good, what happens is everyone around the league wants a piece of it. Teams start poaching the coaching staff that's responsible and make them offers they really can't refuse. Defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald was first to go. He's now the head coach in Seattle. But it's just not the DC that gets offered promotions. Everyone on the staff, the defensive line coach, defensive backs coach. So now Ravens have a new first-time defensive coordinator who's never called plays before taking over, and basically a new staff underneath him. It's basically impossible to expect this Ravens defense to repeat the performance from last year. It's much more likely the defense will take a fairly big step down. Besides coaching, they also lost linebacker Patrick Queen, who was my personal favorite player on this defense, and Jadeveon Clowney as well. So now that point spread adjustment is starting to make a little bit more sense, but I'm not sure we're at a point where it's still deserving of 7.5 points. So what else has changed? 3 offensive linemen who started in that AFC Championship game left in the offseason for Baltimore via free agency. Guards Kevin Zeitler, John Simpson, along with right tackle Morgan Moses. Replacing these guys are inexperienced, young, and unproven. And if you've watched any of my team previews, you know how important I believe offensive and defensive line play is when measuring a team's ability. Games are won and lost in the trenches up front, and the Ravens' changes on the offensive line is another contributing factor to this big point spread adjustment between the defense, losing their coordinator, now the offensive line for Baltimore. I can start to make more sense of this point spread. Now, when I break down a game to make a bet, I need both market analysis and game theory to align. I explain more in detail what both of those are in the Discord, but for NFL Week 1, from a market perspective, we're not going to see a ton of line movement with games. Keep in mind, it's been well over a month since these week 1 games have been posted, so there's been plenty of time for these numbers to adjust. We might see another wave of adjustments later in the week, closer to game time, when the bet limits increase at sports books. But as of now, we can assume the current lines are very close to where they'll close. So market analysis seems pretty neutral. Can't really confirm any team that way. So that leaves game theory, how we think the game itself will play out, everything to do with the game itself and the on-field matchup. This is a revenge spot for Baltimore. I think they'll be the more motivated team. Harbaugh is a coach that always has his team ready. Andy Reid is playing for games in January, not September. In week 1 games, no matter what time frame you use, Harbaugh is the most profitable against the spread coach. Since 2016, Ravens are 7-1 straight up and against the spread in week 1, and none of the games have been really close. Baltimore has pretty much blew out their opponents in the week 1 games. This, to me, speaks towards them always being the more prepared team. Harbaugh has also been great in the role of an underdog. Since 2018, Harbaugh in the role of an underdog is 19-5 against the spread. But week 1s in general, not just with Harbaugh and the Ravens, all teams, week 1, underdogs are 84, 65, and 6. That's 54.4% against the spread. When you look at underdogs playing on the road in week 1, it jumps up 54, 38, and 3. That's a 59% against the spread win rate for all road dogs in week 1 the last 10 seasons. So these historical trends clearly favor Harbaugh and the underdog role. Also, every time Kansas City and Baltimore have played each other in the Harbaugh-Andy Reid era, the underdog has got the money, which includes the Chiefs winning in Baltimore in the playoffs last year. But the underdog in this head-to-head matchup is 5-0. So from a game theory perspective, a lot of things point towards Baltimore. But for me, I need both game theory and market analysis to line up in order to pull the trigger and make a bet. As of now, I don't have a bet on this game, but that could change. We're still a few days away from kickoff. I'll most likely be more involved with like some props, which I'll post in the Discord community. And speaking of props, one thing I want to mention before wrapping this up, anytime touchdowns have become such a popular bet that sportsbooks now are making a lot of these prices pretty unfair, especially when you have a sportsbook that doesn't offer the no touchdown option. They can basically make the price anything they want. When a sportsbook only offers bettors a one-way market, which means there's only one way to bet, they can just make it whatever price they want. A two-way market is different. Using the anytime touchdown prop as an example would give you the option to bet both yes or no on the touchdown. This forces the sports books to offer a fairer price because the prices are anchored to each other. They can't price a player minus 110 for anytime touchdown prop and also make the no touchdown a huge favorite. It has to be anchored to the minus 110. My point in all this, I think a lot of value has been removed from that anytime touchdown prop bet, at least on the books that don't offer the no option for touchdown. Bottom line, this game on Thursday is just a great game for odds makers and bookies, not just because it's a season opener and everyone and their mother will be betting this game, but because there's very little guesswork in this game when making odds. These two teams just played 7 months ago, so it's not like there's two teams who haven't played in a long time and odds makers have to figure out how they'll, quantify the game or how they'll match up. They have relevant and recent data to work with to make the lines, which isn't always the case for games in week 1. But I'll most likely be sitting this game out. I know that's boring, but I bet for the sole purpose to make money, not for entertainment, not to sell picks or promote anything. I bet when I think I have a better than 50% chance to get my money back. This involves not betting a lot of big, popular primetime games. And it's worked out for me so far. I'm going on my 5th season, and I'm just going to continue to do what has worked. I've done pretty good since posting bets publicly the past 5 NFL seasons. Only one season where I lost money was in 2021, and I missed 4 months of the season because I got locked up. If you want to follow the bets I make this season, plus get all the information I share throughout the season to help you make smarter bets, join the Betting Network Discord. The invite link is in the description of this video. That's it for this one. Until next time, good luck with your bet.